Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, April 6th, all the way through to Sunday, April 12th of 2020. And this week is another powerful week in the astrology. Things are still a little crazy, and they will be for at least another week or so before they start to calm down, which they will. But this week we have a very powerful activation of the Saturn-Uranus square, which is starting to come exact, but will not come fully exact until next year. And so basically what's going on right now is we have this hurry up and wait energy with Mars in a conjunction with Saturn. Mars is starting to leave that conjunction with Saturn this week. That was really a focal point of the energy last week, and it's coming into a square with Uranus in the sign of Taurus. This is giving us a very intense, very quick preview of the energy that's going to be playing out all of 2021. And even a little bit this year, especially right now. This is also showing us an area where we're feeling a lot of frustration. We're feeling a lot of resistance coming in, especially from outside forces, but it could even be our own procrastination that's preventing us from moving forward with something. And now's a time where we're going to feel very intensely about wanting to rebel and break free from any limitations or restrictions that are preventing us from carrying out the actions that we need to carry out, from making the changes in our lives we've really been needing to make. And if we've been resisting these changes really heavily, now's a time where they might sort of come in from an outside source, where life circumstances might force us to break away or change something pretty quickly. Or it could be, that we do something kind of impulsively. Maybe we didn't realize that we needed to make a change, or maybe all of a sudden, all of this frustration around the limitations and restrictions that we're all experiencing right now comes to a head and you decide to do something crazy or impulsive. If that's the case, this is really not the week to do that, just because you're looking not at short-term gains or short-term decisions or short-term changes right now. You're looking at making changes that are going to benefit you and support you for the long term, especially on that physical and financial level. And so if you're thinking about jumping in and doing something really drastic to change your financial situation because of the spot that you're in right now in this moment, this would be one of those circumstances where maybe that's not the best thing to do. You have to think about the long term. If there's something that you've been already thinking about changing and you've been working and planning and you're going to be taking like more of a calculated risk, then this could be really the final push that you need to actually jump in and do it. And so you're going to be seeing people on both ends of the spectrum there. The other thing that's happening, of course, is a full moon in the sign of Libra. Normally, the full moon in Libra is all about coming into balance between the needs of yourself and the needs of other people. So it's about your self-interest versus the interests, the needs, the desires of others, and maintaining a better balance between those 2 points. This is still about that. However, there's a bit of a challenge here. So we've been focusing really intensely on some sort of goal or ambition or obsession with that Pluto-Jupiter conjunction that's being expanded on right now really intensely. Some people are focusing really intensely on fear or on diving into different conspiracies, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Some people are taking things to extremes in their lives, and others are focusing really intensely on their ambitions and what they want to manifest moving forward. And this is a time where all of those things might be coming into play. But whatever you've been focusing on, whatever you've been really desiring, whatever's been your attention's been channeled into, may be posing a challenge to your coming back into balance this week. And it's not just going to be about coming back into balance, about focusing on your needs and your self-interest and the needs of others. There's going to be this need to come back into balance between 2 areas of your life that are going to be indicated, more specifically for each of the zodiac signs. And so that's part of what's going to be going on here this week. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on today in this reading. This is going to be, kind of an intense week. There's going to be a lot of challenges coming up for quite a few people. However, things will start to calm down a little bit, especially after next week. And so, we have that to look forward to. But this is going to be an energy where it's like we really feel like we're off kilter, off balance. We've been taking things too far, and it's going to be hard for us to bring ourselves back into that point of harmony. And that's going to be a big focal point, especially with that Saturn energy with Mars and Mars squaring Uranus. People are going to be just like going wild. I mean, I feel like this is going to be a week where we can see a lot of social rebellion, but that rebellion getting squashed really quickly by, systemic influences, that Saturnian energy. And so, that might be something that we see as well. And if that is the case, it's sort of a precursor to what we might start seeing on a bigger level and more of a long-term level, again, coming into 2021. All right, and so before we get into the forecast for all 12 signs, I do have a couple of quick announcements. The first one is that I have this huge summer electional astrology guide that's coming out on May 9th, and today is the very last day, if you're watching this on Saturday, to receive 40% off this guide for pre-ordering and utilizing the coupon code down in the description below. This is a huge task that I have done where I've created a full lunar calendar / electional calendar at a glance that shows you the best and worst and sort of all right days for the months of June, July, and August. I also have a very detailed written guide going into a lot of detail about the specific dates that are best and what they're best for, the times that you can utilize to really enhance your success in anything that you want to accomplish this summer. And I have a video webinar for each month this summer, going into detail about the energy for that month and how to best utilize, in even more specific detail, the charts that I've chosen as the best electional charts. And electional astrology, you guys, is all about choosing the best timing based on the planetary alignments to ensure success in whatever it is that you want to accomplish. And that's what I want to help you guys do this summer. And so the link with all of that information is down in the description below. This is also the last week to get on board with my Mastering the Outer Planets series. If you want to attend the live Mastering Jupiter webinar, which will be next weekend on Saturday at noon Mountain Standard Time, or maybe it's Mountain Daylight Time right now, but Mountain Time. And you can attend live, ask your questions. It's going to be a fun, very uplifting webinar because it's about Jupiter. And I feel like this is like really well timed. I didn't necessarily plan it to be, so chaotic or around this time where it's so chaotic. I planned it because Jupiter is really strong in the sky in that conjunction with Pluto. And I thought that this would be a really great time to like put that out there and to help you guys work with that energy, because Jupiter is a huge player this year, you guys. Jupiter is going to be in and out of that conjunction with Pluto all year long. And then at the end of the year, it's going to come into the great conjunction with Saturn. This is a huge energy, a huge moment in time. This is a life-changing year for a lot of people. People can be making a lot of huge progress this year and massive changes and transformations. And Jupiter is a part of that energy. And so you can learn about Jupiter in your own chart, the Jupiter cycles and how you experience them, Jupiter transits, all of it down in the link in the description below, as well as all of the information you need to know about all of the outer planets, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto as well. All right, and so I'm going to get into the forecast for all 12 signs. I'm actually just going to start with Aries. I know I said I was going to start going backwards and doing all these things. However, a lot of people were confused by that, and so I don't want people to be confused. So maybe I'll figure out something else that we can do. Some people suggested maybe starting with the sign whose birthday it is, right? So whoever the zodiac season is. And we're still kind of starting with Aries if we do that. But maybe that could work, and eventually we get down to Pisces, but then Pisces is still last, right? So I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll just, randomly select signs to start from, and you guys can just get used to that. But for the time being, I'm going to go back to starting with Aries because you are the first sign of the zodiac, and I don't want anyone to be confused when they're trying to find their sign. All right, and so for Aries and for Aries rising. So by the way, you guys, all of this energy is happening on Tuesday. It doesn't mean that Tuesday is the only day that these things are applicable. It's been applicable, and it's going to be extra strong toward the beginning of this week. And so just kind of make note of that. This is going to be a time at the start of the week where things might be a little extra dicey, and you want to maybe plan for that, right? It might be a little bit more challenging at the start of this week. But for Aries and for Aries rising, this full moon is challenging you to come back into balance when it comes to, very literally for you guys, it is about relationships, because you have the moon in Libra in your 7th house as part of this full moon energy. And this is especially, so if you have been focusing really intensely on obsessing over your work or issues related to your work, if you've been obsessing about your goals, desires, ambitions, and passions, and how you're going to create a better reality for yourself and transform your experience with your work or your relationship with people who are in positions of power and authority, maybe obsessing over these seemingly authoritarian types of rules and regulations that are being imposed on you and how that's impacting your life. Now's a time where you're going to need to come back into balance. You've been focusing a lot on your needs, your self-interest, what's going on out in the world, what you're putting out there into the world. And now's a time where your relationships need a little bit of nurturing. You need to come back into balance by focusing on the needs of other people in your life that you care about, especially in those close one-on-one partnerships. And so if you're in a marriage partnership, and you've been neglecting your spouse and their needs, now's the time to connect. If you haven't been connecting one-on-one with your friends, obviously you can't do that in person, but doing that over the phone, the internet, all of these wonderful technologies that we have at our fingertips that allow us to connect with whoever we want, wherever they are at any time, use that this week. Call your best friend, call people that are close to you, connect with your coworkers. This could even be you wanting to come back into balance by creating some sort of partnership in business and having a challenge around doing that because you're very focused and set on the way that you need things to be with your work. And you're going to have to let go and release a little bit of that energy, surrender the need to control everything in order to let other people in and to really succeed in whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. The other energy is that Mars is in the 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, people that you surround yourself with by choice. There could be some sort of opportunity that comes up for you that involves connecting with a new network that you feel like might change your financial situation. I feel like this is a week where a lot of Aries rising people might get sucked into some sort of MLM or a pyramid scheme because their friends are doing it or some people that they know are doing it, and they might impulsively jump in. And that might actually destabilize or disturb your finances in a way that you might not anticipate, and that might have a detrimental impact in the long term. It doesn't have to be something like that, but there is this energy where if you haven't planned it out, if this isn't something that you already wanted to do for a long time, then it's not the time to jump in financially. It's not the time to jump in and just jump on the bandwagon because everybody else is doing it. And this could even be just you wanting to launch an online business so you can create some income while you have some downtime and, jumping in prematurely without thinking things through. So just make sure that if you do have this need to change something, that if you are actually going in and changing it, it's something that you've really thought through and planned out. And now is just this time where you're reaching your breaking point. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to do it. It's never going to be perfect. I'm just going to do it. That would be a good change that you'd be making, even though there could be some challenges to that. All right. And then for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for this new or full moon energy, this is you coming back into balance between this need to spend time in solitude, seclusion, rest, and reprieve. Maybe you've been focusing on your creativity, your spiritual practices, or just really enjoying that downtime that we're all getting a little bit more of because we can't go out in the world quite as much. And maybe that was sort of surprising to you because the sun is in your 12th house. This is you preparing for the cosmic reset of your solar return or the sun on your ascendant if you're a Taurus ascendant. And so this is naturally a time where you're going to be more introspective, reflecting on the past and letting go of things from previous cycles that no longer serve you. But now is a time where it's time to get back to work, right? Maybe you've been focusing a lot on studying and, learning new skill sets with that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in the 9th house, focusing on really figuring out what you truly and deeply desire, what you believe, gaining a really transformed, newfound perspective on on your life and your purpose and your place in this reality. And so it's been a soul searching time, but now is a time where you have to get back out there and take care of the day-to-day routine activities that maybe have been neglected, or take care of your work, or focus on, things that maybe aren't as transcendent or as, spiritual or religious or whatever it is that you've been focusing on. Now it's like, okay, I have to deal with the mundane, boring reality. I have all this time in my house and it's a giant mess, and I haven't taken care of my chores. I haven't been taking care of my body. I've just been kind of disconnecting and diving into all of these different avenues where I've been sort of searching. And so, this is a time where there might be a need for you to come back into balance, but it might be challenging for you to do so because you're so obsessed with whatever path you're following, with whatever information that you're trying to get to the bottom of right now. You're searching for that meaning. You're exploring all these different philosophies. Maybe you're taking a new course and you're just loving it, and you're having trouble breaking away from that to focus on your work or to focus on your daily habits. And definitely this is a good time for you to take care of your health. I would say that you want to make sure that you're having really good habits and health routines and getting back into that right now. And especially when it comes to your emotional habits and routines and how you deal with stress, as well as the foods that you're eating, really taking a look at that this week. The other thing too that's happening is that Uranus is in your sign. And so if you're, a Taurus rising in particular, or a sun or moon, with your rising sun or moon near that 5th degree in the sign of Taurus, you're going to be experiencing this square really intensely. This is an energy where it's felt like you've been building up towards something. Like there's something that really needs to change. You need to change who you are, your entire life, your entire path, the way that you interact and engage with the world. And now's a time where you're going to feel this intense push to just jump in there and do it. And that push can come from somebody who you look up to, somebody in a position of authority, or some sort of need to make a giant change in your life because of what's going on in your work, because of limitations and restrictions maybe that involve your work or your career in general. Maybe you want to build towards something new that gives you more freedom and more excitement and more sovereignty in your work, and you want to just jump in and do it. If this is something where you've been thinking about it for quite some time and this is a calculated risk, then great. This might just be the push that you needed to make that change. If it's something more impulsive, where it's like right now you're really frustrated and you just need to change something, maybe take a step back and think things through, because impulsivity is not going to be very fruitful right now. You want to make sure that you're taking risks that are calculated and that are going to benefit you for the long term. All right, and then for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So this full moon energy is actually really nice for Geminis. Not only do you have this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which is a part of this configuration in this T-square here. Well, actually, that's not going to be transiting yours as nicely. That's just going to be sitting in your 8th house here. But you have this energy in your 8th house, which is the house of fears and past traumas and psychological issues. So you've probably been doing a lot of soul searching, a lot of deep inner work, a lot of facing your fears, a lot of digging things up that you've been repressing and holding back and holding in, that have been controlling you from the inside out through that subconscious energy, through your psychological energy. And so this has been a period of contemplation, introspection, getting to the bottom of things and transforming your experience so you have more control over your emotional state and the choices that you're making. This is also a time where there could have been some powerful transformations going on, and maybe still you're probably this week having some powerful transformations going on involving joint finances. There could be a financial windfall that comes in through an important investment. There could be money that you have to really quickly give up to give to an outside source because of taxes or some sort of past debt that comes due or something like that. This could also be you really powerfully releasing your ties to your past debt, releasing your ties to your reliance on other people. This could also be finances that come in all of the sudden through a partner. Maybe your partner works in an industry that's still up and going right now, and they get some sort of bonus or hazard pay for the efforts they've been putting in. And so you get some extra money. But this has been a time where you've been really focused on like more internally, more internal stuff and more of that psychological realm. And now's a time where you're going to be focusing a little bit more of that energy externally. And so especially if you're a Gemini rising or sun or moon, with your rising sun or moon near that 18th degree, the full moon in Libra is going to be in your 5th house of joy, fun, spontaneity, hobbies, interests, play, children, and it's going to be trining your ascendant or trining your ascendant sign if you don't have your ascendant at that degree. And so this is a time where you're going to stop being so surly and cynical and hyper-focused on whatever it is that you've been obsessing over. Because this could also have been just expanding on your addictions, your obsessions, your compulsions, and really showing them to you and showing you where you need to break free. Now's a time where you can stop obsessing, stop focusing so much on your finances or whatever, whatever things that your addictions or habits or different challenges that you're trying to overcome. And you can focus on enjoying your life a little bit more. Do something that feels really joyful. This could be a romantic time to connect with your partner if you're in partnership. If not, maybe some internet dating sites or something like that for Geminis could be fruitful right now. But this is more about connecting with your passions. So what is it that you're passionate about? What do you love to do? What do you love to do that maybe your friends don't care so much about because you've been focusing a lot on social networks, on connecting with people via the internet, collaborating and connecting with your friends. And now's a time where you're coming back into balance by focusing on what does your heart want? What does your heart desire? What do you want to create? A little bit more so. And this is also a time where if you've been focusing more on the group and the good and the needs of all concerned, and you have children, you might shift your focus and focus more on childcare and play and enjoying your time with your family and with your children. The other thing that's going on here, of course, is this this Mars square to Uranus. This is happening in your 9th house. And in your 12th. And so this is a time where you are starting to contemplate, you feel like maybe a beginning stages of some sort of detachment from the meaning and purpose that you once held dear in your life, or disconnection or feeling disconnected from a higher power and higher purpose. Or maybe it could even be that there's some sort of delay in your education or delay in travel that's leaving you feeling really frustrated, where you're not able to get up and go and move about the world in the way that you want to. If this is the case, this is a time where you're going to really want to break free and change something. It might be that you decide to quit whatever educational pursuit that you're in, and you do so really impulsively. If that's the case and it's something that you haven't thought through, definitely take some time to think it over. Don't just jump right in. This could be you wanting to just go and drive away and take a big trip, but you're not able to do so. Or if you do so, it's probably going to have some negative repercussions. The other thing too that I would say is that this could be you really intensely deciding that you're changing your entire mindset about the way that you view this reality. And you want to just jump in and start diving in and exploring all sorts of weird, unusual, different forms of spirituality, but maybe you're doing so in secret, or maybe you're already doing that and you have been doing it in secret, and finally you're just going to put it out there and tell people and teach the world about what you've learned in terms of your spiritual practices and your spiritual exploration, even if other people might not accept it and they might think it's a little eccentric. All right. And then for Cancer and for Cancer rising, and I should mention, if that's something that you've been wanting to do, you're like, I need to just get out there and just tell people about this thing, then that's really great. But for Geminis, if you haven't thought it through and you're just kind of haphazardly sharing this information, you want to make sure that you're doing so in a way that's methodic and that you've really spent some time on. So don't just jump right in all crazy, because you might get some negative reactions to it. All right. So for Cancer and for Cancer rising, this full moon energy is happening in your 4th house, the house of home, family, property, your place of living. There's been a lot of focus here, over the past couple of weeks, especially on your career, your public reputation, and maybe focusing on building a new career path, or maybe you've been working more even while everybody else is working a lot less. It depends on your specific circumstances. It could be that you have a lot of frustration building around work-related partnerships, business partnerships, work relationships right now, where some things need to be transformed and maybe, it's not happening as quickly as you might want it to. But this energy here with the sun in the 10th house indicates that you've been focusing on what you're doing out in the world instead of focusing on the needs of your family and your home and your property and your roots. And so now's a time to turn inward and to focus your attention very intensely on the people that you care about most. There could be a tricky situation or some sort of power struggles or a need to transform something in your relationship with close family members or even a spouse in order to get back to that place of balance. Maybe you're avoiding spending time with your spouse. Maybe you're avoiding spending time with certain family members who are there for you right now and who are in your immediate household and environment because there's some deeper work that you need to do on yourself and on that relationship. Well, now's the time where you're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to transform through that. You're going to have to repair and rebuild that relationship in order to move into a better situation for your family. So you have that balance and tranquility. So you have what you want to come home to is what you're coming home to after work, after everything that you're putting out there into the world. The other thing going on here is that Saturn just started to move into your 8th house, which could be some sort of restriction, limitation imposed on joint finances. So maybe your partner's resources are cut off or are going to be restricted in some way. Maybe you have some sort of debt you have to pay or tax issues coming up or something like that. But this could also be like you having some sort of financial situation that feels really heavy or restricted or limited in some way, and you feeling really impulsively like, I can't stand this, I need to reach out. And so you reach out to your friends or your social networks, to the people that you feel like you can count on for help. If you're doing this really impulsively for short-term gain, like, oh my gosh, I just need this right now and I don't know what to do, then the results might not be beneficial for you and they might cause more long-term damage. If it's something that you've already been thinking about for quite some time before any sort of crisis came into play, and you're reaching out to some sort of social network like crowdfunding or something like that for an important project for your work especially, which could be part of this energy this week, now's a time where it might just be like, okay, I just need to jump in and I just need to do it. If that's the case, then this might just be that push that you needed, and that could be okay. All right, and then for Leo and for Leo rising, this energy here with the full moon is happening in your 3rd house, which is the house of your immediate environment, your neighbors, your neighborhood. It's the house of day-to-day communications. And so you've probably been focusing a lot of your attention on gaining a sense of perspective on what's going on in our reality right now and in your personal reality right now. This is a time where you've been feeling probably more optimistic than a lot of other people with that sun in the 9th house trining your ascendant with everything that's going on right now. And you're probably just trying to get a sense of clarity to illuminate what's actually happening and to figure out your place and the meaning behind all of this. And so that bigger picture focus is definitely not a bad thing. It could be also that you've been focusing on your education or connecting with people at a distance, probably via the internet around these times. And so that could have been a part of the energy as well. This is also you having been focusing very, very intensely on some sort of transformative project related to your work and your daily routines or your health even. You could have been obsessing over your health and really expanding on your normal daily routines and healthcare practices in order to improve your immune system, in order to recover from illness. This could also be an energy where you've been focusing really intensely on important work-related projects or on overcoming issues involving coworkers or subordinates in your workplace. And there's been not enough focus on just day-to-day normal communication. There's not been enough focus on connecting with your community or doing things to support your community because you've been focusing so much on the bigger picture. What's going on here and now? How are your neighbors doing? How can you help them in a safe way if they need your assistance or if they need someone to lean on? This is also where this would be a great time for you to reach out to siblings, extended family members. That would be a really great way to come back into balance. This could also be the need to focus on something involving short distance travel, like a vehicle or an issue with a vehicle that comes up that needs to directs your attention away from all of these big picture things and your work and your daily work routines. This could also be you obsessing over transforming your work and creating a new situation for your work too. And that could even be in the form of like something was torn away and now you want to build something new. But you have to figure out a plan first. That's the third house. You have to think things through. You can't just jump in and, you know, do things necessarily. You have to have a balance, right? You have to think about it. You have to convey that information to others. This could also just be you having a lot more emails, phone calls, text messages, you know, just coming in left and right, and you feel very busy with communication. The other thing that's going on is there's been an urge to potentially change something really dramatically related to your career and public reputation. And that's, you know, coming in a couple different ways for you this week. But now's a time where you might feel like you've reached your breaking point, especially in important work-related relationships, contracts or agreements or business partnerships with your work, or even if you're working one-on-one with people, it could feel very heavy and very burdensome right now and you want to break away and change something. Maybe you work in one of the essential services industries and you just feel like you can't take it anymore. All this dealing with people all day, every day, and you want to just quit your job and change something, you know, on the fly. If you're not thinking about the long-term consequences, and if you're not planning for your long-term goals, and you're just doing something impulsively to change what's going on with your work or your career right now in the moment, or to change an important work-related relationship right here, right now and in the moment, then this is not going to work out well for you. If it's something you've been planning on doing, like you've been planning on leaving your job for a long time and now it just feels like this is probably the time, I just need to do it, there's never going to be a good right time for it, then, you know, this could work out for you. All right, for Virgo and for Virgo rising, this energy with the full moon is happening in your second house, which is the house of money and finances. So first off, there's a need to get your ducks in a row financially right now. You've been focusing a lot on your passions and transforming your reality, so that way you're much more in alignment with the things that you truly care about, that you deeply desire. This could be a time where you've had some very transformative experiences in romance, or you've been really transforming and expanding on and focusing on your relationship with your children or some aspect of your relationship with your children. Now is a time where you need to come back into balance by shifting focus. There could also have been a reliance on outside resources or resources in partnership with others. And so you've been focusing more on that and less on creating your own resources, or focusing more on investments or issues with investments that are occurring right now that are being illuminated, or issues involving debt or taxes or inheritance or other people's money. And now you need to come back into balance by focusing on how you're contributing financially, how your finances are doing, that you create through your own efforts and hard work. Have you been neglecting your financial situation? Have you been overspending? Have you been sticking to your budget? Have you been saving your money, and what does that savings look like? This is a time where you're going to have to look at that, because you might not be able to rely fully and completely forever on outside sources of income if that's something that's been part of your experience. This could also be you just needing to come back into balance by focusing on what you have and how maybe you can pay off or pay down some of your debts in the future, so that way you have more financial stability and freedom, and you can focus more energy on your passions and the things that you love, instead of focusing on, you know, dealing with all of this debt and having people holding money over your head. You know, this could also just be that you've been focusing more on the psychological, and you've been having this experience of your past fears, traumas, anxieties, wounds, insecurities being illuminated right now, so you can work through that energy, so you can transform it, so you can let it go. And now's a time where you need to bring your energy and attention back down to the physical and focus on your material possessions. And again, that financial situation that you're in right now, getting clear on that. And that could pose a lot of challenge, right? It's like you don't want to deal with it right now, but you're going to have to in some way. The other thing that's going on is that this Mars energy with Saturn is squaring Uranus in your 9th house. So there could have been, you know, there could have been maybe like a work-related trip or something like that coming up, and now it's been squashed, and you feel like you were so excited to go on this business trip, or you're so excited to go to this conference or to learn this new thing that would be a great skill for you, and now it's kind of like you can't do it. It's like hurry up and then wait, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and you're feeling really frustrated, like this is probably not going to happen. And so you want to just jump in and cancel it, or change something, or do something really impulsive, just to break yourself out of that frustration. It could also be that you're having a lot of frustration with your daily routines and your daily habits, especially right now. That would make sense for a lot of people who are used to being out and about and who are stuck at home and who really want to have an adventure right now, and you just can't. If you're going to do something really impulsive, like you take advantage of the airline miles and buy a ticket somewhere for a few months from now, think things through. Don't just think about how this is going to impact you in the long term and whether or not this is viable in the long term. Don't just go in and do crazy things. This could also be you being frustrated with a health situation and making very rash decisions around your health routines, or maybe taking things a little too far or too fast, or not really doing your research before you jump into a new health regimen, and that could be detrimental to you in the long term. If there are changes that you want to make to your work especially, or to your education, now's a time where if you've been thinking about doing it and you've been really hesitating and putting it off, you might get that push, and that might actually be the driving force that sets you on this new path. For Libra and for Libra rising, this full moon energy is happening in your first house, which is the house of you. And so you've had a lot of focus recently, Libra, on other people's needs, especially the needs of your family and what's going on behind closed doors. And that's, a common Libra thing. You're always trying to maintain the balance. You're trying to be more receptive. You're trying to take into account the needs of others as well as your own needs, or even sometimes before your own needs. So it's kind of being considerate of other people. But maybe the consideration for others has gone a little too far, and you've neglected your own needs, your own self-interest, your own physical body and physical health in order to care for other people in your life, to support them, to reach out and to be that emotional support system, or even to provide maybe physical support for people that need it right now. There's been a lot of really intense energy around transforming your home, your family life, your immediate environment. There's a lot of immediate intensity and immediate need to do something really important involving your home or your family, or maybe there's a lot of intensity around your living situation right now. And this could be a time where you've been focusing so much energy on supporting your family or dealing with some sort of family crisis, or you've been focusing on a renovation project or changing or transforming something in your home life, and you've been focusing on your partner and their needs, and it's like, oh my goodness, I need to focus on me for just a couple of days. And because there's so much going on in these other areas, it could be hard for you to do so, but you need to do so. You need to figure out a way to let things go and to come back into balance. Take some time for yourself at the start of this week. The other thing that's going on is that this Mars-Saturn energy in your 5th house is squaring Uranus in the 8th. This could be, first off, you wanting to, borrow some money, use credit card debt, maybe use some sort of stimulus money or something that's coming in from an outside source or through taxes to do something that's just really fun because you're just bored. You feel really restricted and limited in your ability to experience pleasure and to do something that allows you to experience joy. And you might do so really impulsively, and that might cause some issues for you later on down the line. If there's something that you've always been wanting to do that seems really fun and exciting for you, and now you finally have the opportunity to do it, and you're kind of hesitant, this could just be the push that you need. Like, okay, I just need to do it. I've always wanted to do this. If it's now or never, there's never going to be a perfect time. And, this could push you to do it. It could also be some sort of investment or there could be an argument or dispute involving children or childcare or resources around children, especially joint finances around children that could come up this week if that's applicable to you. And so just be careful with that and don't act impulsively or react impulsively. Make sure that whatever choices you're making are made very intentionally with your long-term goals and the long-term consequences in mind. All right. And then for Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this full moon is happening in your 12th house. This is a need to pull back and rest. You've been focusing on work, lots of really intense communication coming in with this Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in the 3rd house. Maybe you've been working on transforming and changing something work-related that involves higher education, marketing plans, your ability to connect with people as a community, these day-to-day connections with people that you're having might feel extra intense, and you might feel the need to really be this guiding light, or to be this optimistic force of transformation right now in the lives of other people, especially in your work, and this need to show up in service, and it could feel very intense. And now's a time where you might have overdone it a little bit, and so you're going to need some time to rest. This is a time where you're going to be spending more time alone in solitude, seclusion. It doesn't mean that you've been out there in the world, obviously working and connecting with people, but you might have been focusing very intensely on your daily habits and routines, your daily health habits. You might have been amping that up quite a bit, and you realize that the health habit that you're missing is taking care of your mental state, not obsessing over things, and also resting, relaxing, focusing on your spiritual health, your spiritual well-being at the start of this week. And so this is a time to kind of rest, relax, take a step back, and hide away from the world a little bit. This would be a great time for like a digital detox, especially if you're somebody who's working from home right now and you're busy with all of this intensity. Take a step back. Use this as like a little sanctuary time for yourself at the start of this week in particular. The other thing that's going on is that Mars and Saturn are in a conjunction in the 4th house. And Mars is coming out of that conjunction with Saturn and coming into a conjunction with Uranus in Taurus in your 7th house. There could be this really intense need to push forward with an important plan or project related to something that you are responsible for in your home or your family environment. This could be you wanting to take on a new responsibility in your home, or having some sort of limitations or restrictions imposed on you in your home where you have added responsibility right now. Maybe you're caring for your children full time and that's not what you're used to. Maybe you have your partner who's at home and that feels like a burden or responsibility, or maybe they're working extra hard and you're at home and you're having to support them. Maybe there's an energy where you're trying to push forward with an important long-term goal or project with your home, and it feels like you're pushing and nothing's happening, and so you do something really spontaneous to change it all of a sudden on impulse. If it's not something that you've already been thinking about doing and planning on doing, this is not the time to just jump in and do things all crazy, especially if it's related to contracts or agreements or negotiations related to home or property or your rent or your mortgage or something along those lines. You want to make sure that this is something that you've been wanting to do and that you've been thinking through, and now it's just like all of a sudden it's never going to be a perfect time to do this. We just need to act now, right? If that's the case, then this could be fruitful for you. This could also be a lot of frustration around relationships in your home environment. This could be a relationship with a spouse, significant other, or close family member who you live with, where there could be a lot of frustration and you want to just lash out or change something about that partnership. And this could also be unexpected changes to negotiations or contracts or agreements that come up this week related to the home and family. And so you might have to think on your toes and just make sure that whatever decision you need to make, you're making it for your long-term benefit and not just for a short-term solution. All right, and then for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, this full moon's happening in your 11th house, which is the house of social networks, friendships, groups of people that you surround yourself with by choice, organizations that you're a part of, things of that nature. And so there's been a lot of focus on your passions, the things that you want to do because you love to do them. There's been a focus on wanting to experience more joy, more romance, more fun in your life. But there's been a challenge here too, because you've had a lot of intensity with this Pluto-Jupiter conjunction really bearing down on you, showing where you've lost control or where you've needed to transform something when it comes to your finances. Maybe your financial situation is not exactly how you want it to be, and you have an opportunity to really focus your energy on transforming and changing your work situation, the way that you create money, or something involving an important purchase or an important material possession or investment, or just transforming the way that you deal with your finances in general. This is a time where a lot of extra money could come in, and that could cause you, to be focusing a lot on that, or there's opportunities for extra money that could come in, or there could be a lot of energy around debt or, power and control issues around money that you need to work through and resolve right now. And so this has been taking a lot of your focus. So work, money, finances, and then trying to find that balance and find time to experience joy and just do things that you love to do. Now's the time to focus a little bit more on the needs of everyone, the good of all concerned. It's not just about you having fun and doing what you want to do when you want to do it. What's best for the group? What's best for the good of humanity? What's best for your group associations? What's best for your friends? This could also just be you wanting to reach out and actually engage with your friends and connect with them right now at a time where we're, in this period of social distancing. So you decide that you're going to email them, call them, reach out. This is actually a nice energy for Sagittarius in a lot of ways, because this is going to be in sextile with your ascendant and in trine with your descendant, especially if you're a Sagittarius rising with your rising sign at that 18th degree. This could be a really important time for having really wonderful, heartfelt, emotionally supportive connections come in with your friends and with people that you're really close with. So at the start of this week, reach out to somebody who you care about. Reach out to your friends, because this could provide that much needed balance. You've been focusing a lot of energy on certain aspects of your life, and it's time to kind of break away from that. The other thing that's going on is that Saturn and Mars are in that conjunction in your third house, which is the house of education. It's the house of communication. It's the house of your day-to-day routine connections with people in your immediate environment and community. It's the house of your daily commute. And so there could have been some sort of delay, limitation, or restriction on something involving your education, something involving an important communication that you're waiting on, and you're just like, I just want this to come in right now, and it's like really frustrating. And so maybe you want to reach out to them or do something really impulsive to, ease your mind. It could also be that you're just feeling the limitation on your ability to move about your immediate environment and to move about your neighborhood and to commute to and travel to where you want to by car. And you want to do something really impulsively, like I'm going to, drive to the nearest town and go climb a mountain. And, that might not necessarily be the best thing to do right now. And there might be repercussions if you're not thinking about the long-term consequences and the long-term impact. This could also be, something that comes in this week that could be life-changing in terms of its impact on your day-to-day life, your educational pursuits, or even your day-to-day work habits and routines. You've been wanting to rebel against your work, and you've been really frustrated with your day-to-day monotonous work routines, and something comes in this week, some important communication comes in this week that changes things as it relates to your work very dramatically, and it could change it for the long term. It could be very disruptive and kind of frustrating at the time, but as long as this has some sort of long-term benefit, or it aids you in your long-term goals and plans, this could be a positive thing. It could also be that you just decide that you're going to jump in. I need to change something about my work right now, right here. And so you jump in and you just do it. And if that's something you've been thinking about doing because there's been frustration for quite some time and you've thought about the long-term consequences, then this could be a good thing. If not, then this could be, disruptive in a way that you might not understand when it comes to its long-standing impact. All right, and then for Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, this full moon is happening in Libra in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. There's been a lot of focus on your family and the needs of your family, and a lot of focus on your home and maybe getting your ducks in a row when it comes to your home environment. Maybe you've been focusing on renovating, cleaning up, sprucing things up. Maybe your family's at home, maybe you have your kids at home now and you have to take care of them full time, and that's not what you're used to. Maybe you've been focusing on making sure your family, like your parents, are okay and things like that. And that's been feeling really intense. There's also been this intense need to transform who you are and the way that you show up for other people in this lifetime and in this world. There's been a really intense need to align yourself with what you truly desire when it comes to your path in life. Anything that is not in alignment with what you truly need and desire right now, you're not going to be able to hold on to. You're only going to be able to expand on things that are in alignment with what you truly want for yourself and for your life. And so this is a time where you've probably been feeling obsessed with something something that you're really passionate about, or something that you're really fearful of for some people too. There's a need to sort of surrender and let go of whatever it is you're obsessing over, whatever addictions, habits, compulsions that you've been really fixated on, anything you've been fixated on right now. It's like you need to let go. Maybe even just fixated on your own ambitions and your own self-interest. And there's been a lot of energy around your family as well. Now it's kind of a time where you need to focus on your career and what you're putting out there into the world and give that your attention. And that's actually going to help you to come back into balance and to alleviate some of that intensity that you've been experiencing. The other thing that's going on is that Saturn and Mars are in a conjunction in the sign of Aquarius, and they're squaring Uranus. There could be this desire to hurry up and change something that could provide some sort of long-term benefit to you when it comes to your relationship with your children, or your ability to go out and have fun and do the things that you love to do because you're really passionate about them. It could be that you're doing this or spending money on something that you're really passionate about, just out of frustration without really thinking about the long-term consequences. This could also be a week where there are frustrations and changes that you need to make regarding your resources, especially your savings and your long-term plans with your resources. And that could be a source of huge frustration for you. If you're changing something financially just to serve your short-term needs without thinking about the long-term benefits, this is going to be very detrimental to you, because whatever it is that you're doing this week and changing will have a long-term impact, and you'll especially feel it next year. So you want to make sure that you're not doing that, and that anything that you're changing financially this week, you're thinking it through and you really have your long-term goals in mind. And especially if this is something that you've already been thinking about for quite some time, and it just feels like there's a sense of urgency now to just jump in and do it because the timing's never going to be perfect, and it's now or never, right? You have that extra push, then that can be okay, and that might be a good thing, but it's still going to be a disruptive energy. All right, and then for Aquarius and for Aquarius rising, this full moon is happening in your 9th house, which is the house of perspective. So you've been focusing a lot on day-to-day communications, on reading blog posts or writing or teaching or, learning practical skill sets. It could be that you've been focusing a lot of your attention on your immediate environment, your neighbors, your neighborhood. And now's a time where you have to kind of step back and look at things more globally, or to get a newfound perspective on your experience. You've been focusing a lot on the details. Now it's time to see the bigger picture. This is also a time where there might be some sort of culmination point to some sort of educational pursuit that comes into play, or where you need to come back into balance when it comes to your educational pursuits. Maybe you've been going too far too fast on one end, and you need to kind of focus your attention elsewhere. This could be an important energy that comes in, or a culmination point of something related to travel, or related to people that you're connected with at a distance, or maybe even finding a new teacher. This would be a great week to focus on finding a new teacher, or focus on something that, or some sort of study that helps you to derive greater meaning and purpose to this experience that we're having right now, and this experience that you're having right now. There's been a lot of energy around needing to spend time focusing on your spiritual practices, your subconscious realms, a lot of really intense psychic energy coming in for you right now, where you're picking up on things very, very intensely. And it's like you just want to be alone so you can focus your thoughts and you can figure out what all of this is. Now's a time where you're going to have a greater sense of optimism, and you're going to want to get out there a little bit more. And you're going to get that sense of perspective, whatever it is that you've been fixating on, especially if it's something that's coming to an end, or if you've been fixating on some sort of issue involving hospitals, prisons, asylums, ashrams, places that are hidden away from the normal day-to-day reality, or it's just you focusing on being hidden. You're like obsessing over the fact that you're an Aquarius, right? And you're feeling all these limitations and restrictions, and you're stuck at home with your own thoughts, and maybe that's just driving you a little crazy. You're going to get a perspective on that this week, and you're going to get a perspective on what that is bringing you and how this experience right now relates to the bigger picture and your place and your purpose in this lifetime. This is also going to be maybe you searching for meaning, like maybe you've lost touch with that sense of a higher connection to something, or a higher connection to some sort of religious doctrine or spiritual meaning. And so you're going to be searching for that this week. And that search can actually prove to be very fruitful in helping you to maintain or regain balance. The energy of Saturn and Mars is happening in your sign. And so this is giving you a very intense preview of Saturn in Aquarius and what that's going to be bringing. It's not going to be as intense as this the whole time, but it's very intense right now, especially for Aquarius rising sign people, sun sign people, or moon sign people with your sun, moon, or rising anywhere from 0 to like 5-10 degrees even. You're going to be experiencing this very intensely, this hurry up and wait energy where you feel super frustrated with your circumstances. You want to push forward with something and you just can't quite make it happen. And this could cause you to just want to break free and rebel. This could be you wanting to make major changes to your home or your living situation because it's feeling very restrictive and repressive right now. Or you might want to lash out and say something to a family member because you're feeling frustrated with the current paradigm and the routine of your day-to-day life. It's not necessarily a good idea to just react or act impulsively in these situations or to make really impulsive changes. It could be there's a need to change your living situation. It just comes up all of a sudden. And, you have to really think about the long-term consequences of this and what you want and how you want this change to impact you in the long term. But there's also a sense of urgency there. This could just be you wanting to change who you are. It's like, I've been doing things the same way for so long and I am ready to just be different. I am ready to just show up in a completely different way, to break free and shed my old skin. And, maybe you decide that you're going to jump in and just change your entire life and your direction this week. If that's something that's been building for quite some time and now it's finally you reach this point of release where it's like almost necessary, or it's kind of just like, it's now or never, right? Like there's never going to be that perfect time, then this could be okay. All right. And then finally for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So this full moon energy is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of debt, joint finances, other people's money, taxes, inheritance. It's also the house of fear, trauma. It's the house where crisis lives, especially past crises and past experiences that you're holding on to that are subconsciously controlling you from the inside out. You've been focusing a lot of attention on your resources, on your material possessions, and getting your ducks in a row in that area. Finances have been highlighted. Work and finances have been highlighted for you over the past couple of weeks. And now's a time where you might come back into balance by having some money that comes in from an outside source. Maybe money comes in through some sort of inheritance or some sort of tax or stimulus payout. Maybe your partner brings in some additional resources or an important investment opportunity comes up. And that's going to help you to focus a little bit less on working, and trying to figure out how you're going to make rent or how you're going to save enough money for whatever it is that your goals are. And it's going to allow you some balance. It's going to allow you to relax a little bit. There's also been a lot of fixation and challenge that's being imposed on your ability to come into balance in these areas of finances. Because of your social connections. It could be that you've been having a lot of intensity around friendships or important group connections, and now's a time where you have to kind of let go of that and focus a little bit more on your internal needs, focus a little bit more on letting go of those old psychological wounds, those old traumas, those past fears. You're going inward this week. You're doing some deep inner work, inner healing. This is a great week to do some sort of, psychological work. This is a great time to seek out, help from a therapist or from, some sort of spiritual guide or somebody who can help you really get in there and get down to the core issues that are really influencing your reality right now, and to help you to transform that and release that and turn that into some sort of physical healing. But the energy here, there's a lot of energy focusing on your friends, or maybe even obsessing over your friends, your social networks, what other people are doing, what your group is doing and what they're focusing on, and there's a need to let go of that. Or maybe even obsessing over your social standing within your group of friends, or obsessing over the fact that your isolation is being expanded on. And so you know, that could be part of it too. Also, there could be an obsession over loyalty in friendship and trustworthiness, and maybe you're feeling really paranoid or suspicious of your friends, or maybe you're really getting deeply intimate and deeply connected with your friends in ways that you never have before, and that could be wonderful. But this is distracting you away from some sort of potential that could be occurring right now financially for you, or this potential to heal through your own stuff, right? So focusing a little less on that right now, especially at the start of this week, and really bringing into attention the need to turn inward and to do some deep inner work. The other thing that's going on is that Saturn and Mars are in your 12th house, and they're in square with Uranus right now in your 3rd house of communication. It could be that there's somebody working against you behind the scenes, or some force working against you behind the scenes, and it could feel like very debilitating or really heavy or frustrating or isolating in some way, and you feel frustrated, you feel like you want to break free, and maybe you decide to confront that person for what you suspect is going on, or maybe they confront you and you get some sort of message unexpectedly that comes in out of nowhere from somebody who's been sort of watching you from behind closed doors, and that could rattle you or cause you to have to change something. This could also just be a sense of frustration with this time period that we're in right now of isolation, because Saturn's in your 12th house. And regardless of whether or not there's social distancing and quarantine going on, when Saturn transits your 12th house, you're going to go through some sort of period of isolation. It's almost every single person who experiences this transit, almost every single one of them will have at least a short period where they have to spend time on their own. And there could be a lot of frustration with this right now. And there's this energy where you just want to move forward. You just want to do something. What are you going to do with this isolation experience? Maybe it's like you want to be productive, but you feel like you just need to lay there and you just need to rest and relax and focus maybe on your spiritual disciplines. And, you know, that is absolutely what you should be doing right now, but there could be this sense of urgency, like I need to be productive, I need to do something, I need to learn something new, and you might jump into a new educational pursuit, or you might jump into something that is not really beneficial for you in the long term. Like, can you sustain this in the long term? When things go back to normal, can you continue this education? Or is this something that you're just doing because you're frustrated right now and you want to be productive and busy, and you know your body and your surroundings and the energy right now are telling you to decompress, relax, let things go. And so that's part of the energy right now as well. But if it's something where you've been feeling frustrated, you've been really wanting to learn a new skill set, especially if it has creative or spiritual value, and you know, it's kind of just like this is the week to do it. It's now or never. The frustration is building and you're just going to jump in. If it has long-term benefit, if it's something that you've been really contemplating for a while and you're just, now is the time, then this could actually be beneficial for you. All right, you guys. And so that's my forecast for all 12 signs. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, please like the video. Share it with your friends if you feel like they might benefit from the insight that I provided for you this week. And be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can never miss one of my weekly forecasts or any of my tutorial videos. I'm putting out a little bit more content recently just because I know people are looking for things to learn and things to do. And so it felt like a good time to do that. So there'll be more tutorials, and check out my video with Raphael that I did earlier this week. We talked about the correspondences between the major arcana in the tarot and, you know, different astrological influences. And we're going to be doing a whole series where we go really in depth into each card in the major arcana. Every other Thursday, it's going to be on my channel, and every other Thursday, it's going to be on his channel. So you have to subscribe to both of our channels to get the full series. And I'm super excited about that. The first two videos, the full card is coming out next week on Raphael's channel, and that was a really interesting discussion, and I'm super excited for you guys to watch it. All right, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.